that term in this course. Sin. Because sin's one thing, but sin, once it gets that extra syllable, you are in big trouble. Sin. Right? Sin. Sinfulness. Would a Buddhist talk about sinfulness? Taoist? Forget about it, right? No, it's different understandings. But this is the construction, right? This is the construction of ethics, right? Our understanding. And I'm telling you, whether or not you are religious, our country just is imbibed with this understanding, right? With guilt, with righteousness, with the very concept of law, right? You have to live according to laws. And if you don't, there are penalties, right? There are penalties. Oh, what else? I mean, there's so much else, but what on earth do we even try to get to today? Well, we'll skip a few hundred years. Briefly, well, yes. Briefly, centuries later, after the fall of the nation of Israel, they managed to get their homeland back again, right? They managed to get the homeland back. Assyria, Babylonia, and then Persia. Persia takes over Babylonia, which takes over Assyria, right? And one of the things you learn if you study this history, and really any culture's history, and it's this: empires rise and empires fall. It is the way of the world. You and I in this nation, we live in an empire, do we not? Right? And I hear people crow about being the most powerful nation on earth. It certainly has its perks, doesn't it? But honestly, one of the things that familiarizing myself with this history reminds me it's not going to last forever. This is not the kingdom of God. Right? It's an earthly kingdom. It's not going to last forever. And it behooves us. It behooves us to be a righteous people. However we interpret that, right? However we might interpret that. There are consequences when you ignore the needy. The needy. Well, the Persians are a kinder and gentler empire, if you will, and they allow the Jews who wish to go back home, which they do. It's the period of the Restoration, right? And it lasts for some time. Then the Romans come to power. There's yet another empire, right? Here come the Romans, okay? And they take over. They take over. That is why in the first century, during the life of Jesus, for instance, that area is ruled by Herod, who is an underling of Pontius Pilate, right, a Roman official. So the New Testament occurs in, and I say the New Testament, that is actually a chapter, if you will, in Jewish history. Now, it goes in a different direction, but that book is written by Jews, about Jews, right? And for the most part, for Jews, okay, who come to be known as something else. That it occurs in a Roman context, which is one of the reasons why, well, actually, I'll get to that next week. I'm so busy getting ahead of myself, I need to back up a minute. Well, Rome rules in that land, okay? But the Jews are not happy. They are not happy. They don't like being under somebody's thumb. Who does? Right? Who does? And they keep rebelling against the Romans, and rebelling. They'll rise up and rebel. Right? They'll rise up and again, you can see it in the New Testament, because there's this whole, static around Jesus that he's going to stir up, right, the people, and the Romans are going to come down, right? Well, that's exactly what happens. It isn't Jesus who does it, but somebody does. And it's shortly after the life of Jesus when the Jews have this huge revolt, 66 CE. There you go. There's a historical date. 66 CE. The revolt begins, right? The latest revolt. And it's huge, and it spreads, and it spreads, and it spreads, until finally the Roman rulers decide, all right, this is out of hand. This is out of hand. And they go down. They send those Roman legions. And they devastate the nation and the land, right? They destroy the city of Jerusalem. They tear down the temple, right? To this day, there is only a portion of it that remains. That is the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, right? From that temple the revolt started in 66. It ends around 70, right? And what did the Romans do with the Jewish people? The ones they didn't kill? Yes. Exile. There it is. This is the beginning, 70 CE, of what is known as the period of the diaspora. The diaspora. Greek term. It comes into English, and it means to disperse, right? It's the period of the dispersion. How long did the period of the dispersion last for the Jews? When did they finally get their homeland back? 100 years? No. No, almost 2,000 years, man. Oh, 1948, right? 1948 CE, after World War II, right? And the horrors of the Holocaust, it was decided that the Jewish people should have a homeland. Again, you think about it, all that time they spent in exile from their homeland. All that time, right? And at no time were they the majority anywhere. They're a minority wherever they go. A minority wherever they go. That is one of the reasons I think that the Jews have suffered so throughout their history. They simply did not have the power that other people did. And here we go. Thank you. Here's a characteristic of empire. When you're the one in power, you tend to be suspicious of those who are not. What are they up to? Right? How are they going to take my power away from me? Well, the United States would never do that, would we? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it, right? Remember we talked earlier about the circle of compassion? How big is your circle of, how many people you care about, right? Do you care about people who are not like you? Who are different from you? Do you care about people who are different from you and you don't really like them or think that you don't, right? Oh, it's just so crucial to think about that, right? And then think about where it applies today. You're going to follow the teachings of Moses? You got to look for the people who are suffering, no matter what they look like, right? No matter, it's not how you feel about them. It's, are they hurting? Are they needy? And if they are, you got to do something about it. That's the teaching here, right? Yeah. And I can feel myself getting all preacherly here, and I don't mean to, but it just kind of comes naturally, if you know what I'm saying. Holy cow, I'm trying to be objective, but, well, again, what do? You are in exile. You are spread throughout the Roman kingdom, which was very wide at the time. How do you maintain that identity? Do you just lose yourself? Does it go away? All this rich history, is it just gone? And I mean, if you watch the PBS special, you will see. Simon Schama actually shows you some of these artifacts. And the ones that have survived they seem many, but they're just a drop in the bucket compared to what disappeared, what went away, what will never again be found. Much of it will never again be known. It is history, right? It is gone. It's history in the sense in which it is no longer a part of our history, right? Yeah.
But I think it's important that what happens after the destruction of
Yes.
the temple
Yes.
is that the whole during the period of the temple it was like all the other religions. They did animal sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that different. But after the temple
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the aspect
Mm-hmm.
happened,
Mm-hmm.
the whole religion changed and it became rabbinic.
Oh, absolutely. Believe me, you're leading the way. That is exactly where I'm headed. No, don't apologize. Don't apologize. After the destruction of the temple, right? The temple being the very center, the ground zero of that religious tradition, right? If you're going to worship, you have to go to the temple. And you worship God through sacrifice. Sacrifice? You cause pain to worship the divine? Would a Buddhist do that? Would a Hindu? No. Right? Again, it's a different understanding of our relationship, not just with the divine, but with other creatures, right? What happens, as you pointed out so astutely, is the religion itself has to change. The people change, right? Temple's gone. Forget about it, right? No more sacrifice. What do? Well, you spread to the four corners. Well, you're going to gather a small group together. Not in a temple, but a synagogue, right? And the emphasis is no longer a sacrifice that's going to get you back to God, but it's the Scriptures, the study of the Scriptures, right? It's the law of Moses that will show you how to live and show you how to live this unique lifestyle wherever you might be, right? However powerless you might be in the culture where you find yourself. And that, it seems to me, is how Judaism has survived to today, right? And not just survived, but thrived, right? It's a remarkable culture. And there's so much that we can learn from our Jewish brothers and sisters.
But in a sense, Christianity did the same thing, right?
How so?
During the Roman times,
Oh, yeah.
Romans persecuted the Christians.
Yes. It's a similar history is what you're saying?
Yeah.
The Christians themselves persecuted by the Romans, and they themselves managed to survive? Oh, yeah. And they had to change in order to do that, right? I hope we get a chance to talk about that next week. Well, thank you so much for coming, folks. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but I hope to see you again.